A solitary man named Michael makes his home on a remote island off the coast of Scotland. His only companion, a dog. Each week, a young woman named Jessie and her uncle deliver supplies to the island. But Michael never comes out to greet them. On one particular visit, Jessie places a small present alongside the supply crate she drops off. Once their boat disappears from view, Michael collects the crate but leaves the gift lying on the floor. He passes the remainder of the day drinking alone and playing chess with no opponent but himself. The following week, Jessie does something unexpected and actually knocks on his door. Michael reprimands her as he takes the new crate and attempts to shut the door. But Jessie wedges her foot in the way and holds out the gift once more. She demands to know why he never acknowledges them. But rather than respond, Michael shoves her foot aside and slams the door. Before walking away, Jessie shouts that he doesn't scare her at all. Once again, the present sits untouched on his doorstep. Out on the water, the uncle receives urgent alerts that a powerful storm is rapidly approaching. The sky darkens rapidly as the waves begin to grow fierce and dangerous. After a difficult struggle, Jessie boards her small boat and begins rowing. But the violent waves rip away her oars and hurl her into the water. Her uncle desperately wants to come to her aid, but the waves are battering his own vessel just as badly. Back on the island, the dog whimpers at the window, and this finally draws Michael's attention to the chaos unfolding outside. Rushing out of the house, Michael stumbles and accidentally sends the gift skidding across the floor. Michael boards his boat, launches it down a ramp into the water, and fires up the engine to race toward the storm. Jessie has managed to resurface, but her legs are tangled in a net, leaving her completely unable to swim. A crashing wave drags her back beneath the surface and she loses consciousness. Michael leaps into the water and works frantically to untangle the net, finally setting Jessie free. Michael tries to reach the uncle as well. But tragically, the man has already drowned after being trapped beneath the waves in his boat. Michael hauls Jessie onto his boat and performs CPR on her until she begins breathing once more. By evening, Jessie wants to board the boat and leave, but Michael refuses to allow it. Jessie comes to and finds herself lying in Michael's bed. She asks about her uncle, forcing Michael to break the devastating news, and she breaks down in tears. Jessie remains in bed for the rest of the day while Michael takes the couch for the night. The following morning, Michael tends to Jessie's ankle, which is badly swollen and sliced up from the net. Jessie asks why he hasn't called the police and whether anyone knows she is there, but Michael simply tells her to rest. While Michael pours himself a drink, Jessie loses patience and demands to be taken back to the mainland, claiming her family will be searching for her. But Michael is well aware that she has no family. Her mother has passed away and she never knew her father. The moment Michael steps outside, Jessie climbs out of bed and frantically searches through his desk until she finds a knife. Hearing his footsteps approaching, she scrambles back to bed and tucks the knife beneath her pillow. That night, Jessie's frightened cries from a nightmare jolt Michael awake. He moves to check on her, but the instant he touches her arm, she snaps awake and levels the knife directly at him. Michael calmly assures her it was only a bad dream and, surprisingly, proceeds to show her the proper way to handle a knife. Over the following days, Michael continues quietly tending to Jessie. He carries her to the bathroom, cooks her meals, and attends carefully to her wounds. Jessie gradually heals enough to walk outside on her own and enjoy some time in the open air. It dawns on her that she never learned his name, but when she asks, Michael flatly refuses to tell her. When Michael mentions that the dog has no name, Jessie takes it upon herself to call him Jack. Jessie then remarks on Michael's chess moves, and her observations make it clear she is a highly skilled player herself. When Michael examines her ankle, he finds it has become infected, but he refuses to take her to a hospital and instead promises to fetch the necessary supplies. Once Michael sets out on his boat, Jessie explores his desk and finds a sketch he secretly made of her and Jack. Sliding open the desk drawer, she realizes that Michael actually did open her gift after all. Inside is a snow globe containing a lighthouse, just like the one that stands on the island. Back on the mainland, a government committee confronts a man named Manafort over his illegal operation of a mass surveillance program called Thea. The program has secretly infiltrated every phone and camera across the United Kingdom, collecting and storing vast amounts of personal data. Manafort defends the program, insisting it has stopped dozens of terror plots and helped identify numerous dangerous individuals. After the hearing, Manafort sits down privately with the Prime Minister to address how the Thea scandal has become a national embarrassment. The Prime Minister switches off the recording devices on her desk and puts forward a secret deal. Publicly, Manafort will be dismissed to give the appearance of accountability, while his protégé Roberta officially steps into his role. In exchange, Manafort will be permitted to keep running Thea from the shadows, entirely out of sight. Manafort accepts the arrangement and the Prime Minister warmly congratulates him on his supposed retirement. In Scotland, Michael visits a pharmacy and carefully maneuvers around every surveillance camera as he shops. He then stops at a clothing store and again dodges every camera angle, grabbing the nearest items off the rack rather than searching for anything that actually fits. As he exits, he slips behind a group of girls who are taking a selfie. His face ends up captured by their camera, and the FIA program swiftly identifies him as a dangerous terrorist. Roberta, now officially in charge, immediately dispatches an assault team to hunt him down. Back on the island, Michael carefully rebandages Jessie's ankle and pairs her medicine with a handful of sweets. He also presents Jessie with the new clothes he bought, and to everyone's surprise, they fit her perfectly. That evening, dinner comes to an abrupt halt when Michael hears a strange noise coming from outside. He grabs his binoculars and spots a boat closing in on the island. Michael orders Jessie to lock herself in the bathroom and remain completely silent until he comes back. Jessie grabs a knife before slipping into the bathroom, while Michael seizes a blade of his own and races outside to set his defenses. As the soldiers disembark and advance toward the house, Michael slices through a strategically placed rope. This releases a massive boulder that thunders down the hill and triggers a net, which snares one soldier and drags him beneath the water. Michael then floods the area with blinding lights, overwhelming the soldiers whose night vision gear makes the sudden flash unbearable. The soldiers rip off their night vision equipment and open fire the moment they spot Michael sprinting past. Michael maintains his lead, and one soldier breaks away to pursue him up the hillside. Michael ambushes the soldier from behind, smashing a lantern over his head and then firing a flare at him to set him ablaze. A second soldier soon crests the top of the hill. Michael hurls a rock to pull the soldier's attention away from him. He then drives a blade into the man and sends him plunging into the ocean. Meanwhile, a soldier forces his way into the house, and Jack immediately lunges at the intruder. After a brief struggle, the soldier shoots Jack dead. The soldier then kicks open the bathroom door, strips Jessie of her weapon, and drags her away as his prisoner. In the garage, another soldier is hunting for Michael when Michael triggers a trap that drives a hook clean through the man. Michael secures the rope to leave the soldier suspended in the air and then slips into hiding. When yet another soldier appears, Michael pounces on him, strips away his weapon, and the two men exchange brutal blows. Michael manages to land 2 solid stab wounds on the soldier. Even so, the battered soldier refuses to go down. Michael clubs the man hard across the head with an oar to finally bring him to his knees. He then drives the oar forward one final time to finish the fight. At that very moment, Jessie's screams cut through the air and reach Michael's ears. Michael snatches a fallen soldier's weapon and opens fire, striking the kidnapper in both legs and dropping him to the ground. With Jessie safely out of the line of fire, Michael puts down the final remaining soldier. A quick inspection of the body reveals the soldier had been recording the entire encounter. Michael confiscates the recording gear and tells Jessie to wait while he tends to one last thing. He steps inside and finds Jack lying completely motionless on the floor. He pauses to murmur a quiet farewell to his faithful companion, then picks up his phone. He contacts a mysterious ally to say he is heading their way and will be bringing someone with him. The moment the call ends, he pops the battery out of the phone to prevent any possible tracking. Michael and Jessie board the soldier's boat and depart from the island for good. Before long, Roberta receives word that her entire assault team has been wiped out. She deploys a specialized operative and orders her team to investigate exactly who Jessie is. By morning, the two have made it safely to the Scottish mainland. Jessie notices blood on Michael, but he shrugs off her concern and insists he is fine. They move carefully through the streets until they spot a vehicle that could serve their purposes. The only problem is, they still need to get their hands on the keys. Michael gives Jessie a rapid lesson on handling a firearm and posts her on lookout duty while he slips into a nearby house. Inside, Michael ransacks the place in search of car keys, only to be caught in the act by a young boy. Moments later, the homeowner materializes in the doorway with a gun aimed squarely at Michael. Jessie slips in from behind and gets the drop on the owner, compelling him to treat Michael's wound. Back at Roberta's headquarters, one of her technicians comes forward with a startling find. The terrorist file that triggered the original alert on Michael is entirely fabricated. It was designed to activate automatically the moment that specific face was detected on any camera feed. The creator buried self-erasing code to hide their tracks, but the technician manages to break through it. Michael's real file appears on the screen, with his official status listed as killed in action. After Roberta points out that someone has been manipulating them into targeting one of their own, the technician attempts to access Michael's mission records. The system returns an error. The file simply no longer exists. At that very moment, the call is from a boy in Scotland reporting that his father is being held captive by a man and a young woman. Roberta wastes no time sending a fresh team alongside the operative she had already been tracking down. Meanwhile, Manafort monitors every development through his private system. keeping a close eye on the situation. He reviews the soldiers' recordings and is horrified to discover that Michael is at the center of everything. The moment Manafort learns which operative Roberta is sending, he reaches the man first, declaring it a black kite operation and ordering him to report only to Manafort. Agent Workman, a devoted loyalist of Manafort's, agrees to the arrangement without a moment's hesitation. Manafort is clearly glad to have his most trusted operative back in the fold. Manafort orders Workman to eliminate both Michael and Jesse. At the house, the homeowner finishes dressing Michael's wound under duress. Michael is ready to move, but the police swiftly encircle the building, and the owner's son confesses he was the one who made the call. The officers are under strict orders to hold their positions and not engage, but when the homeowner dashes toward the door, Workman shoots him in the head. Michael barely pulls the boy back before he can chase after his fallen father. Workman then systematically tears apart every police vehicle parked outside with sustained gunfire. Jesse and Michael bolt for the rear exit, only to come face to face with two waiting officers. Michael takes on both officers simultaneously and puts them both down in just a handful of precise moves. A third officer steps out to block him, but Michael drops the man with a single punch and takes what he needs from him. The two make their break, but the remaining officers move to cut them off. Michael disables every officer in his path using a combination of pepper spray and a taser. The final officer takes one look at Michael and decides not to put up any resistance. Michael calmly relieves the officer of his keys. They commandeer a police cruiser, and Michael clips several other vehicles as he tears out of the parking area. But at last, they break free and speed away, watching the whole scene through the cameras. Roberta tries to reach Workman, only to find he has switched off all his communications. Workman gives chase and slams into the stolen police car with his own vehicle. Michael floors the accelerator and manages to pull ahead. Workman opens fire, shattering the cruiser's windows but leaving both passengers completely unharmed. Workman rams into the cruiser several more times, destroying most of the remaining glass. The chase thunders on into the trees, where Michael wrenches the wheels sharply in hopes of losing Workman. Workman reacts instantly, closes the gap again, and slams into them a few more times. When Workman opens fire again, Michael swerves to dodge the shots and deliberately eases off the gas. The moment Workman moves to the front, Michael rams him hard enough to send his car rolling. Michael shoves the wrecked vehicle fully off the road before he and Jesse press on. A few miles down the road, they find a construction site, and Michael signals that they are safe for now. Back in the woods, Workman has survived the crash and is on foot when a police car and a civilian vehicle suddenly block his path. Workman shoots the officer down without hesitation and forces the civilian to surrender their vehicle. Back at the office, Roberta phones Manafort and presses him on whether he knows who Michael really is. Manafort reveals that years earlier he secretly operated an elite, off-the-books unit of covert agents known as the Black Kites. These operatives carried out missions in total secrecy, completely beyond the reach of any government oversight. Michael was among the program's very first recruits and quickly established himself as an exceptional talent. On one mission, Michael was sent to assassinate a foreign intelligence officer, but instead verified the man's intelligence and then vanished without a trace. Manafort believes Michael defected to the enemy and urges Roberta to deploy every resource she has to bring him down. After the call ends, Roberta orders her technician to break directly into the Black Kites database. The files reveal that Michael helped an Iranian scientist defect after the man provided a full account of his country's nuclear program. Michael had been ordered to eliminate the scientist, but he chose to honor the deal that had been made with the man instead. As Roberta continues working through the files, Manafort watches her every move in silence through the office security cameras. A while later, Jesse asks Michael whether he has any family, and he tells her he does not. He explains that a wife and children would only make his life far more complicated. Jesse counters that she would gladly welcome all the complications if it meant having her mother and uncle back. She then pulls out the drawing of Jack and tells Michael that the dog was his family. They eventually reach the next town and keep their heads down, steering well clear of every security camera in sight. A passing car fitted with a dashcam captures both their faces, and Manafort quickly locks onto their location. Manafort scrubs the dashcam footage clean to erase every trace of them and then forwards their coordinates to Workman. The two slip into the local church to meet Michael's old friend Arthur, who then drives them deep into the forest to his secluded home. While Jesse notices some unusual medication in Arthur's kitchen, Arthur tells Michael he helped design Thea before leaving government service and that he still holds a copy of the software. After Michael went off the grid, Arthur quietly replaced his photo in the system with an anonymous face, but Manafort later swapped it back in with the fabricated terrorist profile. Michael asks Arthur to look after Jesse while he goes out alone to deal with the threat head-on. Arthur says he cannot do it. Jesse cuts in to reveal that Arthur has cancer. She recognized it because the medication matches what her mother was prescribed before she died. Believing Michael is trying to leave her behind, Jesse apologizes for being a burden and quietly walks away. Once Arthur confirms he has only a few months left to live, Michael asks him for the whereabouts of a violent trafficker the two once knew. Arthur warns that approaching this man is a terrible idea. He is extremely violent. But Michael insists he has absolutely no other options left. Just as they are about to leave, there is a knock at the door. It is Workman, and he opens fire the instant the door gives way. Michael dives behind the furniture to take cover. The moment Workman steps through the door, Michael shoves a heavy shelving unit directly onto him. The two men erupt into a vicious brawl, seizing anything within reach as a makeshift weapon. In the chaos of the struggle, a firearm clatters to the floor. Both men are formidable fighters. But after a furious exchange of blows, Workman manages to pin Michael down. Before Workman can finish Michael off, Jesse snatches up the fallen gun and points it at him, pleading for him to stop. Workman lunges at Jesse to disarm her, so Michael grabs a nail gun and fires several rounds into him before snatching Jesse and running, with Workman still shooting after them. The pair reunites with Arthur, and all three escape together in his car. Workman runs after them firing, but by then they are well beyond his reach. Manafort sends Workman a text asking whether the job is done, and Workman replies that it is not. Manafort immediately instructs his assistant to get the full team ready to move. Once the group reaches the next town, Arthur hands Michael a phone and quietly takes his leave. As Michael and Jesse continue alone, Jesse pleads with him to bring her along when he eventually settles on his next island. Michael refuses, telling her he wants something far better for her than the life he leads. Roberta receives confirmation from her technician that someone has been operating Thea entirely behind her back, and she begins preparing a trap. In London, Michael deliberately steps in front of the cameras so that both he and Jesse are captured on the feed. They head to a nightclub, and Michael beats up the bouncer until the man relents and lets them through. Manafort spots their faces in the feed and rushes to trace their location, but he is immediately locked out of the system. This confirms to Roberta that Manafort has been the one secretly running Thea behind her back all along. Inside the club, Michael and Jesse sit down with a trafficker named Kamal. When Michael asks him to arrange safe passage and a fresh identity for Jesse, Kamal pushes back and demands to know why he should comply. Michael reminds him that Kamal has stayed in business only because he has been feeding information on his rivals to Manafort all these years. But now that Manafort is operating illegally in the shadows, he will eliminate anyone who gets in his way. And since Michael deliberately let himself be spotted on camera, enemy operatives will be descending on the club at any moment. Kamal realizes he has no real option and agrees to cooperate. Within minutes, Kamal produces all the necessary documents. The boat departs in 30 minutes, so they have to move immediately. As Michael and Jesse make for the exit, they discover that Manafort's operatives have already flooded the club. Michael rushes one of the men, overpowers him in seconds, takes his weapon, and shoots him in the process. The pounding club music drowns out everything, and the crowd around them remains completely oblivious. Michael snatches a glass from the bar, shatters it, and uses the jagged shards to stab another agent repeatedly. The next agent is shot down quickly, and this time a handful of bystanders begin taking notice. Jesse and Michael duck into the bathroom corridor, but an agent corners them there, and a firefight erupts. Michael creates a diversion and pulls Jesse back into the main room, where the remaining agents close in and set upon him. Jesse tries to jump in and help, but an agent knocks her to the ground, prompting Michael to shoot the man to protect her. The crowd finally grasps what is happening and erupts into full panic, streaming toward every exit. Amid the stampede, an agent seizes the moment of chaos to snatch Jesse away. Michael phones Arthur, who follows the kidnapper through the city's security cameras and feeds Michael live directions. As Jesse is shoved into the back of a van, Roberta's forces arrive and seal off the surrounding street, mistaking them for more of Manafort's men. Michael fights his way through several of Roberta's soldiers to clear a path and keep running. He locates the van, but Manafort's operatives swarm around him and he has to battle his way through each one. He cuts through them methodically, one after another, and races to reach Jesse. Workman arrives at that exact moment, so Michael and Jesse grab a nearby motorbike and tear away. At the pier, Jesse breaks down in tears and refuses to board the boat without Michael. A gunshot rings out nearby, and Michael immediately lifts Jesse onto the departing boat and watches until she is safely away. Michael and Workman exchange fire until both men run out of ammunition. The fight drops to bare hands, with both men grabbing a pipe and a length of chain as their weapons. Workman wraps his arm around Michael's neck and tightens a chokehold. Michael wrenches himself loose and hammers Workman repeatedly with the heavy chain. For the killing strike, Michael threads the chain around the pipe and drives it into Workman's skull, ending the fight for good. Sometime later at his mansion, Manafort glances out the window and spots two of his guards lying dead on the grounds. When Manafort turns around, Michael is standing there waiting for him. The two men argue bitterly about the Black Kite program for several long minutes. Then Michael raises his weapon and shoots Manafort in the head. 3 months later, Jessie has built a new life for herself in Spain. Roberta and her team maintain surveillance on Jessie, convinced that Michael will eventually surface. On this particular day, Jessie sits reading at a sunlit cafe. Roberta momentarily loses visual contact when someone shifts the camera angle. The waitress arrives at Jessie's table with a bag that no one ordered. Jessie opens it and finds a single chess piece resting inside. Michael stands in the street nearby, watching her with quiet relief, then slips away before she can turn around.